We got a special invitation to check out the pump house for the water park. We can't wait to see it.
Let's go. So we decided we needed a microphone for the inside of this pump house.
I got like 10 different kinds.
And we've been offered the company golf cart to go get our microphones.
Yeah. So this is the aquatics area at Triple R. We have cabanas, which is a little bit unique. And then we have the pool, the hot tub oasis, and we have the Leaky Lagoon spray park. So we keep the water temperatures. The pool is 88 to 90. The hot tub is 101 to 102. And we keep the spray pad somewhere between 75 and 82. It depends on the ambient temperature outside. That water is moving at almost 2,000 gallons a minute. So to heat it is very, very challenging as opposed to water in a pool or a hot tub. It moves a lot slower. All right. You want to see the pump house? Let's go. So this is the craziness that we deal with. We're in here probably 8 to 10 times a day checking on things. So this is not something we turn on and drive away. We're always in here at least every hour and a half. So there's 3 separate systems in this building. The system over in the corner, that's a hot tub oasis system for filtration and heating. The big pump that you see down at the end that's kind of shiny and gold, that's just a jet pump. All that does is when you turn the bubbles on, it's going to take water out of the hot tub and put it back real fast and inject air into it. That's what creates the bubbles. On the wall, you'll see there's numbers on these little blue and white controllers. That's monitoring pH and what's called ORP. The ORP is an electrical measurement of the chlorine in the water to keep it simple. There are other things that we have to manually measure, but we keep those simple. Those are just one time a day. So this system from here over is just the hot tub. The system in the middle of the room, this is the pool. Notice the filters are much larger than the hot tub because the body of water is much larger, and it has a lot to do with the velocity of the water and what you're trying to filter out of it. So this might be moving 270 gallons a minute. That's moving at 135 gallons a minute. And then everything from this side of the room over is the spray park, the Leaky Lagoon spray park. If you want, we'll walk this way and I'll let you look down in here. So with a spray park, there's 2 separate systems, unlike a pool that's just one where the water goes around in a circle. Or a hot tub, the water just goes around in a circle. In here, for a spray park, you have 2 separate systems. This system that you see with the large filters on it and the 2 pumps on the floor, this is taking water from a 5,000 gallon underground tank outside the building because there's nowhere to put it. It's outside. We take the water out. The controllers on the wall are sampling the water and deciding whether it needs to add chlorine or if it needs to add acid to adjust pH, etc. So you've got filtration and treatment on the system here from here over. This other system that you see up top, the big stainless steel contraption that you see up there, is a UV light. So where a pool or a hot tub or even just a tank of water may not ever have a dangerous contaminant in it that you have to worry about, with a spray park, there's a lot more to worry about. So back in 2007, New York State mandated that any spray park has to have UV treatment on the water. Well, what does that do? UV can break the shell on any bacteria that chlorine can't. So what you have to do is you have to make sure so that the water is safe. Every drop of water that gets pumped out of here has to go through that light. And that light is very, very smart. That light knows that it requires 20.2 millijoules per centimeter squared of light to kill the bacteria. New York State mandates it runs at 40. I run it at 65. So there is something that's called deader than dead. So we do not want to take any risks with the water clarification, or do we want to take any risks on the treatment? That light has the ability, if it does not feel that it is cleaning the water safely, it has the ability to shut this entire system down. It will not let it run. What would happen is, and you may only be able to see one of them, there's two red valves. What happens is, if it decides, hey, we can't treat this water safely, it shuts off the water to the spray park and puts it back in the tank. And after it goes around in circles for a while, the UV can then decide, yep, we've killed everything. The water clarification looks perfect, turn it back on. And it does it all by itself. Now, how many times have I had a fault? 0. We are too critical and too protective of the water. So we know that the water is always being treated really, really well. We run the chlorine a little hotter than we have to ensure that. And we also take samples 3 times a day that tell us how clear is the water. Can the UV do what it needs to do? So there's a lot going on in here. There's also other controls in here. These 2 big black boxes up on the walls, those are called VFDs. They're variable frequency drives. They are controlling the 2 big 7.5 horsepower pumps that are pumping everything out to the spray pad. When those are on, they are pulling somewhere in the neighborhood of 145 amps of power. So the service to this building, when this is all running, is equivalent to about 15 or 20 households of power. So there's a lot going on. So sometimes a customer might ask me, well, can we just turn it on for an hour? We always like to say yes, but it is an average cost of about $3,000 a day to run this on a weekend, right? During the week, it only runs 4 hours a day, so we scale that back. And that's proportionate to the amount of people that are here during the week that can support it. That's why we do what we do. A lot of people don't understand that, but that's why we do it. But anyways, that's the general gist of this. If you want to go back around, I'll show you the control on the UV light, and we'll see how well it's doing right now. So this is our UV light. This is basically the control. This is basically showing you that there is 65 millijoules per centimeter square of light. So if I were to take one of the sensors off of that light, first off, it would trip, right? It would say, I can't see the water. Something's wrong. So it'll switch, and it'll take the water away from the water park. However, if you were able to look at that light, it wouldn't be for very long. It is incredibly bright, and this is what makes that light. These are the bulbs. These bulbs are about $1,800 a piece, so you don't drop them. So these are blown. So you only get so many hours of use out of them, and then after that, we can tell that the UV light bulbs are starting to degrade because the amount of power, that 66% to make 65 millijoules, that starts going up into the 80s, and you're like, okay, it needs a lot more power to make the same amount of light. The bulbs are getting tired. And you never, ever, ever want to compromise that. So at the end of the day, this is the heart of everything. So if you were to look at the grand scheme of things at Triple R, we went from a little sleepy campground to this, and there's a lot going on in here. But we're also prepared for the worst. There's spare pumps, spare VFDs. If you look around, there's spare parts hanging on the wall all the way around here. The last thing we ever want to have happen is our customers have a bad day. I have only had to shut the spray pad down once for a half an hour in 4 years. And that was because the strainer, the filter that's on the UV, was causing the pressures to go too high. So what we did was we shut it down for half an hour, I blitzed it, put it back together, and fired it right back up. That took a half an hour. That's the only time we've ever had to do that. But yes, that pump is the jet pump for the hot tub, and it will scare you every time it shuts off and comes back on. So anyways, that's the general gist of the pump house just for the Leaky Lagoon at Triple R. Yeah, yeah. You're looking at chlorine, pH, NTU. You're looking at alkalinity. We're also looking at the flow rates that are on the resurf system for filtration. And we're looking at the intensity of the UV light, which is always at or above 100%, because that can just keep adding power to the bulbs to make sure that they're constantly putting out what they are required to put out. So there's a lot going on here. That's just one of the systems. There's 3 different spreadsheets, one for each body of water. And this isn't automated. This is stuff we have to manually enter. And we also keep track of how many people are in each fenced-in area. That's required by code. Every 2 hours we record that. And last week we set a record where I have never, ever, ever in the total cumulatory day recorded 500 plus in the pool area. I call that ludicrous. That's never happened, which is why you're starting to see us kind of back away from having so many visitors. It's too much. It's too hard to control that water and treat it, so we're having to back away the visitors a little bit and say, hey, 125 extra families in addition to the 214 that are normally here, it's too much. So some people may not understand that, but this room is where I live, and this room is what's telling me I have to make an adjustment. So, but that's the general gist of it. For the pools on the right, and your heat for the spray pads on the left, the heat for the hot tub is actually inside. I think that's going to change pretty soon, because on a 90-degree day, it's over 135 degrees in that room. So if you think it's hot now, that's only about half the temperature that it can run at in there. It's brutal. But here's your 5,000-gallon underground tank right here. All pools have a skimmer, right? Well, this is the skimmer for the Leaky Lagoon. All the water that's being pumped out there comes in here. It gets skimmed, and then it goes underground into this tank that's right here. But yeah, so one of the things that we really pride ourselves at Triple R is we have made a massive push to become conclusive. We want families that have kids that are disabled to be able to come here and have the same experience that everybody else does. So one of the things that we've done when we designed the Leaky Lagoon spray pad was a 0 entry. So you can go right into here with a wheelchair. There's floor jets, there's tipping buckets, there's water cannons, and then there's obviously the tiki bar on the other side, which sprays a water curtain, and then the palm tree. So there are 3 or 4 different interactive things that kids that may be in a wheelchair or have something where they may not be able to get up to the slides, there are things for them to do here as well. The pool is also ADA with regards to getting on the patio. There is not a lift on the pool yet. There is on the hot tub. But that is something we're looking at, because the pool, we may have to restructure some things to be able to do that. And it's going to require tearing out some concrete and reinforcing it so that if you did have somebody on a lift on the pool, it's not the patio thick pool concrete, which is very minimal. You want that to be pretty husky so that if you do have somebody that's a couple hundred pounds, few hundred pounds get on that lift, you don't ever want a disaster. You want that to be very solid. So that's something down the road that we will do. But it's tough with the cabanas figuring out where to put that where somebody may not get injured on it. We have had the Hot Tub Oasis open since 2018, and we've never used the lift. I would love for people to use that lift. That's why we put it there. We want them to be able to come and enjoy the same experience that the rest of us can. That's why we do what we do. But anyways, yeah, so this is the entrance to the Leaky Lagoon on the back side where the ADA entrance is. So, yeah, it is cool. That's why they wanted the balls off. So, one of the interesting things about running something like this or owning it is, you think, well, in the winter we just shut it off, right? Well, not exactly. In the winter, what we have to do is we have to hook a huge blower system to this and literally blow every single drop of water that we can out of the lines. But that doesn't mean that we can blow all the water out. We get as much as we can. Well, how do you protect the system in New York from freezing? Well, we order 1,200 gallons of RV antifreeze in 55-gallon drums, and we modified a script program that runs one of the pumps in the VFD at a very slow speed while we are frantically moving a hose from drum to drum to drum to drum, sucking RV antifreeze out and shoving it through the entire system. But what I will admit is pretty freaking cool is when you look up and the tipping bucket is tipping 125 gallons at $8 a gallon of pink RV antifreeze. So it's kind of cool, but you say, oh my gosh, it's such a waste. But the cost of fixing it, all the lines underground, would be in the thousands and thousands of dollars if we didn't protect it. So the winterization is huge. Oh, I got it. I got it nailing you.
Oh, that was great. Thank you so much.
Once the sun is out and the concrete is hot, it could be at like 74 or something.